Welcome to the Not Just Waiting podcast. I'm your host, Brianna Hoffman, and this is a space for women learning to wait well and live fully. Whether you're in the middle of uncertainty, transition, or just figuring out what's next, this podcast is here to remind you you are not behind, not forgotten, and definitely not just waiting. Let's dig into truth, grow in courage, and hold on to hope together. Hey friends, welcome back to the Not Just Waiting podcast. Today I'm joined by Megan Sanders, a coach, writer, and careful listener who has been a steady, grounding presence. Megan works with thoughtful women who are tired of striving and ready to live from a deeper and steadier sense of self. Her work gently invites women out of performance and pressure and into a life rooted in clarity, courage, and truth. Megan brings a quiet wisdom to conversations about identity, growth, and becoming. And I know this episode will feel like a deep exhale for many of you. So let's dive in. It's been a morning. We're trying to figure out the things, but the Lord is good, and I cannot wait for you guys to listen to this podcast because the enemy has been so against it, and that's okay. But I wanted to introduce you to my friend, Megan. Megan is amazing. We got to meet a few years ago in a cohort for coaches. We're both Go and Tell Gals coaches, and it has been so fun getting to watch your content and connect across the United States because we live nowhere near each other. And it's just so fun getting to connect like that. I absolutely love it. So fun. So we are still continuing with our Becoming series, talking about who we're becoming in our waiting season. Here on the podcast, we talk about waiting a lot. We talk about how we underline. No, we just talk about how it's annoying sometimes. But we also talk about how the Lord is good and He is creating things in us that we can hold, like our character, for later. So with us continuing with our Becoming series today, do you mind if we just get started and ask some questions?
Let's do it. Yeah, I'm here for it. I'm so excited.
Yay! So, question number 1. Who do you sense God has been forming you into in this season, especially in ways that weren't visible or celebrated?
A good question. I've been feeling a invitation in tumultuous seasons to return to the things that I know. And if I don't feel like I have a stable knowledge of who God is or um who He's forming me to be, then that's my opportunity to learn more, right? So in a season ages ago, not ages ago necessarily, 10 years ago, I was at a point where God was really kicking up some sediment. Like I go on cruises, and when the cruise ships pull out, they're kicking up sediment, right? And I think about how dirty it makes the water and how cloudy it makes the water. And I feel like God invites you in those seasons to learn more about His character, who He is. um, and I feel like right now I'm kind of in a season where the water's a little murky, and I'm trying to return to what I learned at that point in my life. So I think He's forming a less of a control on outcome in me right now, and a lot more of a this is a process, this is a lifelong process. What do you know? Stick to what you know, and be open to learning more about what you don't know. Oh, yeah. That's kind of what
Yeah.
I've been feeling.
Loved that picture. I'm a pictures gal, and I loved that because it's so true. The waters are murky a lot of the times. And that doesn't mean you stop swimming in them.
Exactly. Yeah. It just means maybe, learn a little bit more about what you're swimming in. Yeah,
Yeah. But that was a great answer and great. I'm literally looking at the picture in my head.
it's good.
So, was there a season where God seemed more focused on shaping your character than advancing your calling? And what did that form into?
Mm. Okay. So, vulnerable time. About a year and a half ago, I, in a rageful moment, punched a wall and broke my hand. And it was something I'd never done before. I can count on one hand the amount of times that I've felt that much rage and upset, you know what I mean? And I af in the time since, I've learned a lot about um, anxiety around being misunderstood and feeling defensive about like what you're justified to do as a person, or like what you know versus being curious about what other people think about things. So I realized a couple patterns that just weren't really healthy. Um, and wasn't really healthy in my relationship with God either, because I was looking at God the same way that I was looking at human relationships. Um, so in that moment, the character growth was very much me realizing that um, I was approaching my relationships from a place where if you're not okay, then I'm not okay. You know what I mean? And so if I'm not okay, then my relationship with God is not okay. Therefore, I'm failing, and, that kind of thing. So I had to kind of take a couple steps into that kind of growth and healing. Um, so that I could feel freer to lead other people or talk to other people, or actually, speak from a place of like, yeah, I'm not a rageful monster all the time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think it formed um the feeling of knowing that I don't have everything figured out, but um I know that there's a consistency to the relationship with God, and like the love that he gives me, the grace that he gives me, the peace that he gives me. And knowing those things means that if I'm steady in those things, then I can start overflowing that to other people. So that formed that order a little bit better from like, if you're not okay, I'm okay. If I'm not okay, my relationship with God's not okay. It's flipped now. Like, and it's something that I have to remind myself of repeatedly, but it's definitely, it's a good stepping stone, you know?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I have a question. You don't have to
Uh-huh.
answer.
Yeah.
Do you have any practical tips from like going to from if I'm not okay, my relationship with God's not okay, to flipping that?
Huh? Yeah, good question. It's a lot of it's a lot of thought work, and, I think it's studying and knowing the character of God. So, 2 books that I would recommend for anyone wanting to know the character of God. Jen Wilkin wrote these 2 books. They're kind of like a series. Have you read these? It's In His Image and None Like Him.
No, but I'm adding it to my Amazon list right
They're
now.
fantastic. So, in His image are character attributes of God that humans can carry, and none like Him are actually character attributes of God that are just His. Like humans can't carry those. So it's really good. But that was like the 10 years ago Megan, who was like, "Who is God?" And I jumped into those books and was like, "Oh, okay." And so that foundation really actually helped me trust who he is. And when I have that trust, then I can, return to that and be like, "Okay, that's the basis. That's how I flip that like in my mind." So
Yeah.
yeah.
That was great practical advice. Thank you.
You're
'Cause
welcome.
I'm all about practical. It drives me my brain can't comprehend when people are like, "Just do it." I'm like,
So I stay up here a lot. Like I'm all up in the concepts and thinky thoughts and like all that stuff. And sometimes it's hard for me to get into the practical because um a lot of the times like physical like doing things felt like it wasn't okay when you're trying to be spiritual. You know what I mean? Like I was pulled up grown up in a time where you had to stay spiritual, the physical things don't matter, and I'm learning to integrate those. So yeah.
"So interesting." Anyway, I'm not gonna go down that rabbit hole, maybe later. Um,
Yeah.
so what have you had to release, whether that's your expectations, your timelines, your identity, in order to become who God is inviting you to be now?
Um, okay. So I am writing a lot and exploring the idea of being a helper. And I don't know if you're an Enneagram girl. I, for the longest time, mistyped myself as a 7 because I thought twos were pathetic. That's the thing I spoke over myself, because I thought that helpers, like without boundaries, helpers don't know like when to stop and they're exhausting themselves. And it's just, like someone who helps others, serves others to where they're in bed for 2 days out of the month. Like that's pathetic. I don't want any part of that. So I'll be the fun girl. I'll be the seven. But no, that's not true. so, so I've had to kind of I've had to reorder my acceptance of my helping self. So the the words behind me being a helper is that I'm not enough. I'm not valuable if I'm not being of service. And so I'm writing from that space. I'm learning that my value doesn't come from what I do, it comes from who I am. And that's something that I'm trying to release. I'm trying to release the the belief that others have expectations on me that I'm putting on me because I think that I'm not valuable?
Mhm.
So I it was really all from a control perspective. I can control how my relationships happen. I can control how people feel about me. I can control like if I'm, showing up, if I got a servant's heart, if I can control all those perceptions. But really that just drives a person to exhaustion and um and it comes from a broken identity, you know?
Mhm.
So when I think about my relationship with Jesus and who God is and who he calls me to be, anything that's not producing fruit of the spirit that we find in Galatians 5 are things, and it also continues and says the fruit of the flesh or the works of the flesh are this, and this. So I don't just pay attention to the works of the spirit. I pay attention to the works of the flesh because I see those a lot too. So I try to work from the overflow of that love, that grace, that peace, that kindness of what I'm receiving from God rather than what I'm trying to muster up on my own. It's a lot more restful. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. A lot more restful. And I've been releasing, I feel like I've released these things over and over and over again. And I don't know if you feel this way sometimes, but like you come back around to this narrative or this pattern and you're like, I already did this. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I'm just trying to re-release and not look at myself like a finished product?
Yeah. That has been one of the things I loved everything you just said and resonated with all of it. And even being a 2, even being a pathetic 2, like, I got it. Um, but I love how you're realizing that there's not really a finish line. You're always gonna be a work in progress. That's been one of the things that I've been learning, especially with us talking about becoming a lot here, is that none of us are gonna be finished until we meet Jesus. Like, it's a thing, and so, I think growing up, I always felt like I had to arrive. Like, when I
Hmm.
graduated high school, "Oh, I've got college now, then I'm gonna arrive," and then I graduated college, and I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna be a teacher," and then I tried being a teacher, and I got married, and I'm like, "Oh, I totally am a grown-up now." I'm not. Um, Facts, I'm not. And then I'm like my brain was like, "Well, then we need to have small people, or we need to have a dog, and then we need to have this, that, and the other," and I'm like, "Wait, wait, 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 wait." If I'm continuously looking for the next thing, I'm never going to arrive. And that's kind of the point. We should always be growing and learning and becoming and desiring what the Lord has for us. And we're going to be shifting and changing based on what He's teaching us. Even when we have to do that circle thing of, oh, I've already done this like 8 million times.
Yeah. Definitely. Yeah. And like the checklist, right, that we have in our heads, like it's all a cultural like expectation on us that we get mixed up in our approval or our relationship with God or how good we're doing. And nah, don't want it. You know, I'm I'm better off like following the spirit and like resting and like really metabolizing what God's doing right now, instead of looking to the future. Yeah, I feel that.
And when we like sit and listen and take in what He's teaching us, a lot of times we don't have to learn it again.
Mhm.
It's when we try to, like, speed it up. It's kinda like dinner. Have you ever, like been like, "Oh, I'm so hungry. I'm gonna eat all of this food right here." And then you eat it so fast your body can't like process it and you're like 2 hours later, "I need dessert."
Yep.
Versus if you like sat and enjoyed, you'd be like, "Oh, I'm still full."
Yep, exactly. And eating the good things, like the proteins, the things that'll last, the good, the things that are going to be good fuel, like it's the same with our spiritual walk for sure.
We just need to have conversations every day. Thanks.
I'm here
Um,
for it.
I have a practical question. Following up with Enneagram stuff. How did you go from a 7 to a 2? Like, how did you make that mental shift?
Well, I will tell you, I was in a Cracker Barrel with my husband, and we were sitting across from each other, and he indulges me in my breakfast habit. So, we were having breakfast. He's not as jazzed about breakfast as I am, which I don't think that's a character flaw, but it's close. Um, but he was sitting across from me, and we were talking about personality tests because we love, kind of thinking about that stuff. And he was like, "So, what on the Enneagram are you?" This was shortly after we were married. And I'm like, yeah, I'm totally a 7. Yeah, fun girl. Like, I show up, I'm a party, I entertain. Like, I'll sing and dance, I'll do whatever you need to. I'll, have a great time." And he's like, I don't think so. And I'm like, "What do you mean?" And he's like, I'm pretty sure you're a 2." And I'm like, "Oh, no, I've been socialized to be a 2 because I'm a Christian woman who grew up, like in Christian spaces and like, we're all socialized to be 2s, but I'm totally not a 2." Like, and that's when I told him that I think 2s are pathetic. And he's like, "Yeah, that's kind of a weird way to look at yourself." So that was the moment where I was like, "Okay, hold on. He's a very insightful guy. He's very wise. He's super kind. Like he's great." And his view on this. So I started doing some Google searches, and then obviously the algorithm's like, you need Enneagram content. And so then I started looking into like the things that drive to the motivations, the fears, like the core things. And I kind of dove a little deeper in that, and I was like, oh no. So I had to kind of, rethink that a little bit. But yeah, there's a book called The Gospel for Helpers. So there's this guy who does gospel for Enneagram. It's an Instagram account that I love. Um, but he writes books for all the types. And basically it's like the gospel for your type, your Enneagram type. And so they've got all the types. I bought a couple for friends and stuff. But yeah, it's really good stuff if you're looking for like how my walk with God and how what Jesus did on the cross, overlaps with, how he made me to be and my personality and things like that. So it's really good. And it frees you from like those harmful, like unhealthy beliefs about yourself. So it's really good.
Adding that to my Amazon wish list. We will link all of these books in the show notes. So if you're just as interested as I am and want to go click it, like right now, it's taking everything in my body not to grab my phone. To like go look it up. I'll leave those for you. I laughed when you talked about your husband being like, are you sure about that? So my husband is not a personality test human. Context is important. Was homeschooled.
Mm.
And so he didn't get into all of the like, yeah, I'm gonna be a Myers-Briggs this and a Enneagram this and I'm a yellow and I'm a Labrador, like whatever. All the personality tests. And I had to take 5 or 6 last week for an internship that I applied for and I thought about you. But we got married and I'm like, oh, I'm an Enneagram too. Like, what are you? He goes, a what? And so we had to go down this deep rabbit hole of what an Enneagram 2 was. And I was like, okay, what are you? He goes, I don't know. I'm like, okay, let me see if I can type you. Because in college, I used to be really good at typing other people because I'm kind of a little insightful. So I was like, you're not a 1. You're not a 2. You're not a 3. You're definitely not a 7. You're not an 8. You're not a 9. So I'm like, are you a 5 or a 6? And then I'm reading up on a 6. I'm like, you're a 5. Do you know who has the least amount of content on the face of the planet? Enneagram 5s.
No.
Even
No.
the man, there's a gentleman, it might be the same guy that writes the gospel for Enneagrams or for like your Enneagram type. But there was a gentleman that wrote books for each Enneagram. And I was like, oh, I'm going to buy the one for Philip so that I can figure out like his motivations and what he needs, and
Mhm.
because it was just going to help me love him better. He hadn't written it yet. It was the
No,
only one he hadn't written.
of course.
I was like, there's no content anywhere for Enneagram 5s. Like, they're like, they're kind of enigmas. I'm like, great.
Great. It's just gonna always be a mystery.
It was just funny. So it made me
That's
giggle
great.
when your husband's like, "You're a 2."
Mhm.
And I'm like, my husband's like, "What is that?"
Yeah, yeah. Well, funny story, my husband's also, homeschooled. He just, like I don't know, I feel like he grew up really fast. Like, he started working full time when he was 15, like, and he's been in that job since. So, like, yeah, he just hit the gas on all the things and being his own person. So, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
That is definitely one of the character traits of people that are homeschooled, in my opinion. Don't take this as truth, friends, if you're homeschooling or have been homeschooled. One of my favorite parts is that he takes initiative and starts things that he wants to do versus me, who grew up in public school and then went to private Christian college, needs to be told what to do because I
Yep.
have lived in that box my whole life. There's always been boundaries and rules and regulations. And he's like, even starting this podcast, it was an ultimatum he gave me. Like, "Hi, you've been working on this project for a really long time. You have to start it this month." I was like, "I'm sorry, what?" I would have never, like, been like, "Oh, I am confident enough to do this by myself."
Yeah.
And, like, he's building stuff on his computer. He's in the process of building a video game that's gonna launch pretty soon. I would
Oh.
never be like, "Hi, I'm gonna start this thing by myself."
Oh, like, don't you feel like you have to have, like, approval or, like, a stamp of approval from, like, authority or, like, enough friends who tell you that you're ready to go and, like, all these things? It's wild. It's wild. Like, I have that narrative for me too. Like, I don't just go for it unless I just click, like, publish. Like, I get wild enough to where I create something and I click go, and then I'm like, "Oh, no."
You were inside my head. And I think it also speaks to that expectation piece you were talking about earlier when we're talking about becoming, because it is so true. Everything that I do, I need a stamp of approval for. Like,
Mhm.
we had people over for dinner last week, and I'm a decent cook. And I'm like, let's have pot roast. We're going to do this. It was pretty elaborate. And my husband goes, "You only make good food. Why are you worried about what they think about your food?" I'm like, "Because they need to feel this, and this. And I need their bellies to be full. And I need this and this." And he was like, "You're being ridiculous right now. You only make good food. No one has ever told you that your food was bad. And they're not going to tell you even if it is. And it's okay." And I'm like, "Okay, good point. I was going to cook the food either way. I know how to do it. I'm good at it.
Yeah.
But why do I feel like I need their like stamp of approval?" It's one of those strange.
Oh, yeah. I wrapped up in, like, all the anxiety, like, the pre-podcast anxiety, right? I've never, like, guested on someone's podcast before, but, like, I took my journal and I've been telling myself, "You've gotta be honest in this thing," because I used to do a performative journal where I would write all the things that I'm supposed to write and all the things that I'm supposed to think, and, like, this one, I got it. It's a William Morris style pink honeysuckle, like, wood cut, beautiful thing, like, it's gorgeous. And I'm like, "This is where my deepest, darkest secrets belong." And so I opened that thing up and I wrote out like, "Okay, what am I feeling? What's true?" And trying to short circuit that whatever narrative's going on in my head that I'm terrified of what's going to happen if something goes wrong, you know? Yeah, I feel that.
People pleasing. We're
People
so good at
pleasing.
it.
That's right. Oh, I that actually reminds me. So I'm trying to figure out like ways to go about like helping people realize this in their lives, or at least for people who are there and who are like starting to ask questions and stuff. So I don't know what these resources look like, but I do know that we need them, right? Like I like something about because like I like doing art and stuff. um I've been watercoloring a lot lately, and something about watercolor, it releases you from the finished product because water just moves. Like, you can't force water to go a certain place. You can't control where it flows. So there's a process in watercoloring coloring where you you kind of layer things and you're working from light to dark, and like you can't control it unless you're working on details. And you don't work on details until the very end. So there's something there. There's like a metaphor, there's like something that would bring what we're working through in our heads into our bodies and into what we're creating. So I that's been something on my mind lately that I'm really excited about, and I don't know what that looks like, but there's something there. Like cuz we need to embody this, right? Yeah.
When you want to write that or when you need help writing that, just let me
Mhm.
know.
I'll holler at you.
I will love to help with that. That sounds like so much fun because you're so right. I do love to watercolor. I don't watercolor as well as you do yet. Yeah.
Oh.
You
You've got
like
your own style. Everyone's got their own style.
it's true. I'm going to link your watercolor Instagram so people can go look at your watercolor.
Thanks.
But when you watercolor, it's so true. You have an idea, but you also have to give up that idea because there's no guarantee it's going to look like how you want it to. And the water and the colors mix, like when you layer on top of each other, they mix in a way that you couldn't expect
Mhm.
sometimes. And
Mhm.
then you get to like finish it and let it dry. And then you get to go work on all the details. And that's where you get to have your control again.
Yeah.
So, yeah, there's totally something there.
There's something there. Yeah.
There's something there.
Yeah. I'm glad you see it too.
I do. My brain was like, ooh.
Yeah.
Um, on the podcast a lot, we chat about waiting, as you can tell. And even though waiting is a generalized term, you're like, "Oh, I'm just waiting." But you're not. There's 2 types of waiting. There's active waiting and there's passive waiting. And we determined that passive waiting is Rihanna sitting on her couch eating peanut butter cookies and watching a movie because that is my favorite way to
Did
pass
you
the
just say
time.
Megan? Because I heard Megan in that. I feel that so much. That's how I wait too.
That's how I wait. And so, should we do that every day for multiple hours a day? No. Would it be fun? Yes. Should we? No. So, active waiting is the doing of something in that waiting season. Sometimes it is resting on the couch, don't get me wrong.
Mhm.
But sometimes it's resting on the couch with your computer in your lap, writing something, or texting a friend, or just doing the next thing the Lord tells you to do. So, in your season, how are you waiting well?
Good question. I actually was in that passive waiting season, especially after I broke my hand, because I felt like a lot of that, like stories about myself, like I'm not angry like people in my past. I'm not that person. And then I became that person. And it was like my worst fear. And like all these things are falling down and like healing as well. So I'm on the couch, just kind of like zoning out, listening to, entertainment podcasts and like not living. You know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
waiting, I was waiting for a healing that I probably should have been a more an active participant in. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, so in the past few months or so, like, probably since coaching retreat that we did. Just before that, I was feeling like, okay, so it's time to start writing again on my Substack. It's time to start being like imperfect and present. You know what I mean? So if I'm finding myself in the waiting season, which we all find ourselves in, I actually feel like I'm in a current waiting season right now. Um, I am always going back to those who is God and what does that mean about me? Well, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
So I go back to those character attributes of God and what he created me to be. Like I am an image bearer of God. Therefore, I am beloved, I am worthy, I am courageous even in like when I'm most scared. Like those inform my core values. So I work from there. I go back to my values, see if those need tweaking or anything like that. Like, cause waiting is perfect for that mind work, like getting yourself kind of your mind right. So I have to think, I have to formulate values based on specific seasons of life, what I'm learning. And then when I've chosen those and I'm moving forward, they actually help me wait a little bit better. Because like a value that I have is that um, kindness matters. And it can be really easy to get grumpy when you feel like you don't have permission, or you're not going, or you're not acting, and like you're not showing up, you're not being that person who is helping other people and being present and like all that stuff. You can feel really grumpy about it, right? But when I've chosen that my value is to lead with kindness, and on my mouth, it's I think it's in Proverbs 31, um, kindness and the law of wisdom, or is it wisdom? Wisdom and kindness? I think it is.
I think
I
so.
don't know. Sorry, guys. I don't have the Bible in front of me. It's in here though. um, so the wisdom and kindness is a value that I've pulled from that scripture for me. So if I'm not informed on something, I don't speak on it. But when I do speak, I always speak in kindness. So if I'm approaching something and I'm waiting and I'm grumpy, and my husband asks me a question that I'm probably not ready to answer, um, I don't channel that grumpiness toward him. And if I do, I immediately stop, apologize, and repair, because I know that because my value is kindness and wisdom, that that's not who I am. And I do not live that way. So when that slips out, I know that's not me, and I can go back and change it. You know, nothing's permanent. Things like, no, you've not ever gone too far. You know what I mean? So I have to extend kindness and grace to myself as well, And so whoever's around me is hopefully going to receive what I've been working out in myself while I've been waiting.
Yeah,
So yeah. Yeah.
that was good. I'm like, I want to know what the rest of your values are, but I'll ask that later. Um,
Okay.
unless you just know them. But
Well, I have two. I have
okay.
two that are on top of mind. Integrity and consistency, which are kind of going hand in hand. But when I was a teenager, I had a big problem with lying, as teenagers are wont to do. We, kind of are testing our autonomy a little bit, right?
Mhm.
So I was homeschooled through high school, and I did not necessarily I had supervision, but not probably like daily, hourly supervision. And we had high speed internet. So I was on Yahoo Music watching the latest music video, Since You've Been Gone by Kelly Clarkson. Always be one of my favorites. So anyway, I was sitting there, and 6 weeks later, my mom checks in with me about my Spanish homework and realizes I've not done a lick of it. So anyway, that was me coming to a head of like, oh my gosh, I am a liar. And that became what I told myself, my shame narrative about who I was. So anyway, I chose about 10 years ago, when I was dealing with all of the who is God and where's my place in all this. Um, I decided I am a person of integrity, which means that I am consistent, and um I will I don't have to muscle my way into integrity. That's just who I am. So I am not a liar. I lied, but I'm not a liar. Like I get angry, but I'm not an angry person. You know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
my feelings do not make me who I am, you know?
Yeah.
They're warning signals for what's happening in my body or what's happening in my world?
Mhm.
So integrity is one of them for sure. Consistency is another one. So yeah.
That's really cool. That's one of my goals this year, is to like write out what my core values are, because they've changed and shifted based on my circumstances and what I was doing. Now there's some that are like the same, but they're so innate that I can't verbalize them yet. And so that's one of the goals this year, is to write them out. So thank you for sharing that
Awesome.
you have some and what they
Yeah.
are. I think that's really cool.
I love value talk. I'll talk all day about values. So that's awesome.
Yeah. Is there anything else you want to share with our listeners today?
Um, I think I can't think of anything off of the top of my head, but if I wanted to encourage anyone, I just want to say like you are, especially in the world of waiting, you are not your circumstances. You are not you are not the circumstances you're in. You're not the season that you're in, you personally are living within those, and you're not your emotions, but you have them and you should listen to them. I'm reading several books about spiritual trauma right now. And um, I feel like there's such a world of harms and hurts that we had no idea that we walked through, and how those inform how we're looking at life. So I just want to encourage people, you don't have to be finished. You don't have to uh, meet yourself with a rigid set of expectations, being fluid and listening to what the Holy Spirit's speaking to you. And all those things are really valuable. And allow yourself to be human, because God created you to be a human. He's not surprised by your humanity, and He's not waiting for you to suddenly become this impossibly perfect saint, because He didn't create you to be that way. So anyway, that's what I've been working out and trying to communicate to people on my Substack. And so, yeah, there you go.
That was a word. I might write that out and put it on my mirror. That was so good. And I'm going to link your Substack. So Megan
Thank you.
has lots of places for you to connect with her. In case you were wondering if you liked her content, she has at least 2 Instagram handles. One's for her watercolor, and that just brings me joy. Her Substack comes out every Sunday. In case you guys didn't know, because you haven't followed her yet and subscribed yet, you're going to, right? You're going to go click the button in the show notes and go subscribe to Megan so you get her Substack in your email on Sundays. They're so good. And it has been a joy, and this has been so much fun, and I can't wait to connect with you on some of the stuff that we talked about later. But friends, go follow Megan. Go tell her thank you for jumping on. And if you have questions, feel free to DM me or probably Megan. She would probably be glad to respond to anything that you might have questions about, because we talked about some pretty deep and very relatable stuff today. So it's been a joy and a privilege, but we'll see you guys next week. Bye, friends. Hey, friend, I want to share something that I created for those of you who are in a waiting season right now. If you're waiting on clarity, direction, healing, or a next step, and you're tired of feeling like this season is just something to get through, I made a companion resource called the Guide to Becoming. It's a scripture-based reflection guide designed to help you stay rooted, honest, and present while you wait. Not to rush forward, but to help you notice who God is forming you to be right here. You can download the Guide to Becoming right now. Just check the link in our show notes. Remember, you're not behind. You're not forgotten. You are becoming. Thanks for listening to the Not Just Waiting podcast. I hope today reminded you that even in the in-between, God is working, and you are not alone. If this episode encouraged you, would you share it with a friend? And don't forget to hit follow so you never miss a moment of truth, hope, and real conversation. You can find me on Instagram at rihanna.ivy.hoff and join the community over on Substack for deeper reflections and weekly encouragement. Until next time, take heart, friend. God is in the waiting with you.